Hey guys, so we are back to discuss another week of interesting transfer news and rumors. And as always, we'll begin with the transfer oracle Fabrizio Romano. So, in confirmed news, I'll just read it out and I'd love for Varun and Manan to weigh in on these news and rumors. So, number one, Bayern Munich have confirmed the agreement with Bayer Leverkusen for Jonathan Tah to be at the FIFA World Cup. So he had already signed as a free transfer from Bayer Leverkusen, but now I think they've agreed a small fee so that they can be part of the World Cup squad as well.
I think it's a
Yeah,
win-win for both here. It's okay. I
yeah.
mean, not
I
both
don't
of
know
the
how
strengths are
much of
quite.
an upgrade he is to Kim and Upmakano, because if you see his career, he's always performed well in a back three and not in a back four. So, so I don't know how he'll adjust, but I mean they've taken the best defender outside Bayern Munich from the league, so I mean,
Which
it
has been a
strengthens
strategy
them in
which
both
works,
ways.
yeah, which works
Yeah,
well for them always.
yeah.
Also, on that topic, Kim Min Jae is up for sale, and a lot of
Is it?
Premier League clubs, yeah, have shown
Oh
interest.
wow. Who has shown interest?
I was reading Newcastle,
Mm-hmm.
and I think even Chelsea were showing interest, but Newcastle का सबसे पहले नाम था.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be a good fit, huh? Newcastle ka.
अच्छा, why do you think that
Mm.
is?
Because they have Dan Burn, who's the confirmed starter, and he is like the old school centre back, right? Big, strong, good in the air, and Kim Min Jae can be the other complementary partner to him. So, and they have like Fabian Schär as the other guy and Sven Botman.
Hmm.
So, I think Kim is an upgrade on both of them.
Okay.
Don't you think he's an upgrade on Maguire?
He is, but we don't have the money now.
He's actually available not for too much. I think 50 million euros
Yeah, but we have
presently.
other priorities. Like any upgrade that we get on Hoyland or someone on the right number 10 position or even in midfield is going to be a bigger upgrade than what Kim is to Maguire.
By
I
the way, it's
read
been 2 years
a
for Hoyland, right, at
statement.
United.
Yeah,
Sorry?
Hoyland has been at United for 2 years now, right?
Yes, 2 years. He just
And
made a
Xerxes,
so
statement today that I have a
yeah.
contract until 2030, so I expect to play at United next season.
That is the exact statement which I read, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to be fun now. There is a player who doesn't want to leave, maybe because of the wages. I don't know what wages he's on.
Mhm.
And Man U are desperate to sell him to Inter. So let's see.
But
and
like,
Xerxes has been there for 1 year, right?
yeah, Xerxes has been there for one. But if let's say Hoyland doesn't leave and we don't get in another forward, but we strengthen the midfield and one or two other positions, I'll be okay with that. Like it's not like he's missing big chances a lot. He's just not getting anything. So maybe with a better team around, he'll perhaps get more chances, and then actually know how good or bad he is. So it
He
would
can
not
be
be
a
the end of
good,
the world for
yeah, he can be a good second choice. Like if there's someone ahead of him, right? He can be a
me.
good person to bring on for last 15, 20 minutes, like kind of be physical and at least get some experience, right? Like for a
Mm.
first choice, he is not that good.
Yeah, but again, you have to see where you can upgrade and how much you can upgrade in a single window. So it's like picking and choosing your battle.
Sure.
Center back positions, I don't think are the most critical ones right now for United. Also, Ishan is backstage, guys.
Huh? Let him
Oh,
in.
Ishan is also joining.
That's the
Special guest
surprise
for the day.
guest.
Yeah. So
You should
Ishan is
introduce him as a
actually
guest,
so Ishan is
huh?
actually going to be at the Club World Cup. He's going to be seeing one of the Chelsea games over there.
Nice,
Nice.
nice. Hey, buddy, Ishan, you're on mute.
Hi guys, long time.
I
Long
had
time,
missed
yes.
watching that ceiling. Huh? Background and ceiling miss kara tha.
It's difficult to get past Ishan's image, right? If only he was in the Chelsea goal, there would be a lot less options for the forwards there.
I think he's an upgrade on Sanchez.
We'll get to that in the next video. Okay. So the second story from Romano. AC Milan and Chelsea are again in direct contact today for Mike Maignan to discuss the terms of the deal. Maignan remains keen on joining Chelsea, with player pushing for the deal to happen, but up to clubs now. Now, this is actually a very interesting one. So, Maignan is in his last year of contract at AC Milan. Chelsea have been admirers of Maignan for a while. In fact, before he left for Milan from Lille, Chelsea tried to sign him. There was a situation wherein we had a very good keeper, Edouard Mendy, who helped us win the Champions League. We proposed a swap deal with Milan as well. Unfortunately, it did not work out for both parties. Now, presently, we have 8 goalkeepers on our books without counting some of the under 18s and under 21 players. And we actually have a good squad of goalkeepers, but none of them are truly world class. Now, I would not actually go as far as to call Maignan world class right now, but he is the French number one keeper, and he is someone who is reaching an age wherein he can bring a little bit of experience to the Chelsea squad. So Chelsea went in with a low ball offer of 10 million euros, which was immediately rejected by AC Milan. And Milan wanted 30 million euros, which Chelsea luckily have not agreed to yet. And somewhere along the line, 15 million euros Chelsea was offering for the last couple of days. And I think Milan have countered with 20. So if Chelsea really want him, there's a scenario that this can happen maybe by tomorrow, because tomorrow is the deadline for the Club World Cup registrations. And in case it doesn't happen, then I don't really see this deal happening after the Club World Cup, because we are going to be taking 4 keepers already, out of which I would love for Petrovic to get a chance in the first team. He was the standout keeper in League A last season. In terms of stats, in terms of gameplay, he was the second highest goalkeeper rated in the French league, and he was the Strasbourg Player of the Year as well. So we have someone who's brilliant already. So there's no need to, upgrade that position just for the sake of it. So I think Ishan would have been following this transfer closely. So in case you have any thoughts on this, please share.
I think Maignan has made it clear that he wants to leave, and he has already given an ultimatum to the AC Milan board that if they don't allow him to leave right now, then he'll leave for free a year later. After negotiating in January, he'll sign a pre-contract with some other club. So considering AC Milan's financial situation, they are not doing so great. They missed out on a Champions League qualification this year. It seems like the deal will be closed tomorrow. Although I'm not like 10 on 10 excited about this deal, but it seems like if this deal happens, then we'll be selling Petrovic, who is on slightly on a lower wage, as well as has a good potential, and many clubs are interested in him. So we can maybe try to book some profit over there. So to be fair to the owners, I would accept this deal because they have invested a lot in this team. But as a fan, I'm not too convinced on giving Maignan a chance because he's already 30. Although goalkeepers have a longer, shelf life, but somehow last 2 years have not been the best for Maignan. It has been a downward trajectory. But yeah, any goalkeeper is an upgrade on Sanchez right now. So even Onana, except Onana, sorry, but any I think Chelsea.
I knew
and,
this was coming.
And I think Chelsea and United have the worst keepers in the league by far. Like even the the promoted sides would be having better keepers than us, because I think Chelsea and United alone, these keepers have made us drop points like anything. Like if Robert Sanchez was not on the goal, I'm sure we could have finished above Man City too. So like I have zero confidence when he's on the goal. So priority would be for me to for Chelsea should be selling him if possible if we have any suitors. But the only likelihood remains Graham Potter our dear friend at West Ham. There are some reports linking Robert Sanchez to West Ham or maybe Saudi. I don't know. But
I don't think Saudis are going to take that risk. But
It
yeah,
will
yeah.
be
Potter.
super fun. It'd be super fun if now United sign Sanchez.
No.
I don't see that happening either, buddy.
Yeah.
Although it'll be super fun from a headline point of view. Also, there's a very curious case of Robert Sanchez. The reason I'll tell you this is he is the only keeper in the league to have there's a statistic, right? Like 5 errors leading to goals. So it is the highest in the league by far. But at the
Yeah.
same time, he has a 74.6% shot stopping.
Stopping. So
Yes.
UV, he's
So in terms
he's
of,
a above
yeah,
average shot stopper, but with the fit, I don't think he fits the system really well. He can be a
correct.
good keeper for some other system, but if we want our goalkeeper to be a part of the build-up, then I don't think Robert Sanchez is the guy. That's why Maignan comes in. Maignan is
Correct.
known to have good feet, like good passing range, good distribution. He's known for that, and even good shot stopping as well. His shot stopping numbers aren't bad either. So it's a like it can be a good signing, but the downside is very limited with Maignan. So I wouldn't mind this happening.
Actually,
When
Sanchez
Maignan
can
went
be a
to AC
great
Milan,
signing. Sorry,
sorry.
so just one more comment.
Yeah.
Sanchez can be an excellent signing for Everton. The way Moyes plays, right? I think it'll be really good.
Yeah.
I think he's too eccentric to be like a goalkeeper in an Everton team or a Moyes team. Like
Man, I
Moyes
have a question
likes
for you.
stability. Huh.
If Sanchez and Onana would be at United,
Hmm.
whom would you start with?
Onana always. It's
Really?
not even a question. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It is the Eric Ten Hag story all over again.
Come on, guys. You see the save percentage also. Onana has better save percentage than Sanchez, and he has less errors
Really?
leading to. Yeah.
Save
I
percentage. You
doubt.
checked that?
I doubt
Yeah.
that.
I
I
doubt
doubt that.
this.
Yeah,
Let's remove this stat. Yes. Very unlikely.
we should have a wager for this. I'm very confident Sanchez should be doing better.
I don't see Manan shaving off his hair now.
I think the best shot stopper I think was Mark Flecken or someone somewhere in
Yeah,
between the
he's
league, and
now
I
back
remember
to
that.
the Bundesliga.
Yeah, Leverkusen.
Manan, even Emily doesn't agree with what you're saying. वो सुन के देख क्या हो गया उसको.
Emily is a
She's
dog. Yeah.
getting
What is it?
angry that you're picking Onana over Sanchez.
100%. It's not. I mean, it's not even close.
I remember
Okay, so I'm just
Onana's
looking at
comments.
the.
Sorry, you just to interrupt. I remember
Uh,
Onana's comments before the season. He told the fans, "Be ready, I'm going to be brave this season," or some comment like that.
okay,
This
so guys, I have
was
the definitive answer here for the 24-25 season. Clean sheets, Sanchez is better, 10 versus 9. Save percentage, Sanchez is better, 73.64 versus 67.
that's a huge difference.
And let me check if the errors leading to goal का है यहाँ पे तो.
Sanchez beatने का. That's Sanchez for sure.
Oh, by the way, penalties saved also Sanchez is better than Onana. Saves per match 2.97 versus 2.65.
Who's 2.97?
Everything is better for Sanchez.
Yeah, but he's also playing in a much better team.
अरे? I
अरे
thought
क्या?
United were.
One team finished like in the Champions League spots, and one team finished 15th.
एक second, where is the. Yes, and we are back. Cool. So, yeah, any comments on Sanchez again? Otherwise, let me go to the next piece of news.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, just one second. Huh? Okay, this is a very interesting one. Clement Langley leaves Barca with immediate effect, contract terminated, and he signs for Atletico until June 2028 on a free transfer. I think best for everyone involved. No transfer fee, hasn't really performed for Barca. Will be a second choice backup to a center back or a left back. So I think
He
works
was
well for
first
everyone.
choice at Atletico, huh? I should tell you.
Last season,
Yeah. So he was
oh
injured for
wow,
the first few months, and then
acha,
once he came back, he was first choice for Atletico throughout, like
interesting.
for the rest of the season.
In that case, I'm very surprised that he went on a free.
Yeah,
His
because
wages were
wages were
tremendous.
too high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Barcelona would have had to pay a big termination fee also.
Yeah.
Okay, another very interesting piece of news. Inter officially confirmed Christian Kivu as their new head coach on contract, valid until June 2027. Now, everyone knows how well Inzaghi has done, and I'm not sure many people know Christian Kivu. Like he was a ex-Inter player. He won the treble under Mourinho, but in terms of his managerial career, I'm not really sure. He's managed the under 21s for Inter. Let me
His
check
first
where
job
else.
was in February this year at Parma, and
Uh,
he took them out of the relegation zone and kept them safe. And then he left the team, and now he's been appointed for Inter. I don't know the
what do
playing style
you?
or anything, but I just know these basic things about his stint at Parma.
So I watched Thierry Henry's the overlap video. If
Hmm.
anyone watched that, in that if everyone knows the story that Inter Milan approached Cesc Fabregas first and tried to get him on board. So I was watching the podcast and there Thierry Henry mentioned that he's the only manager who owns shares in that club.
Sorry, which? Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah, he owns shares of Como, and
Okay.
that he's the only manager in the top 5 leagues or whatever. Because Thierry Henry himself is a investor in Como. If people are not aware, so even Cesc Fabregas is one of the owners in Como. So that was interesting insight that I heard
Yeah,
in that video.
very interesting indeed. And like you rightly said, right? Like Inter Milan actually requested Como permission to speak to Fabregas, but the Como management declined. That would have been
Yes.
interesting to see how Fabregas does at
Yes.
a really top level.
Yeah, I think Como is a freshly promoted club. I think just one season new to the Serie A. So I think once
Yes.
the situation stabilizes for the team, then maybe it can be a good move to step into a bigger role. But I think they'll need couple of seasons to cement their places into Serie A. I think their star player has been the Real Madrid kid, uh,
Nico
Nico
Paz.
Paz. Nico Paz is one of them who is like, but he can anytime move back to United because they have a call the I forgot the clause name. I think they have a buyback clause for 8 million euros. If they can exercise that and call him back, then they have a sell-on clause. So practically, he's a Real Madrid player, even though they don't have him on the books. Then there are a couple of more players. I think Maximo Peron. He's an Argentinian kid whom City bought couple of years ago. Now he's in Como. I think Dele Ali was in Como. I
He
don't know
was training. Yeah, not
what
really.
his
Yeah.
situation is right now. I'm not too aware. Then this guy, the I forgot क्या उसका नाम क्या Sergi Roberto. Sergi Roberto is in Como. So it's a good mix of experience with youth and it's a good blend of that. But I think Fabregas as a part owner would want Como to be a regular in Serie A before moving on to the next project. So good part on him that he didn't force out a move to Inter Milan.
Do you guys think it is wise for a club like Inter Milan to appoint someone who's not really had a very large managerial stint?
I think
Only
that
time.
is the trend now. Like a lot of the top clubs are going for ex players who've trained the academy or who had like who've coached youth teams or under 21 teams, reserves, and have had experience outside with like some success. So, and also for Inter Milan in particular, it's very difficult to question Pepe Morata because I mean, he's had a phenomenal track record of success in terms of player signings and managerial signings. When Inzaghi replaced Conte, there was
Correct.
also there were also huge question marks on this appointment. But I mean, in a way, he sort of outperformed Conte, right, in this stint. So yeah, I mean, in general, the trend is that, and also they have Beppe Morata, who's had a very good track record. So I would not be surprised if this is a successful managerial signing.
Okay, perfect. The next piece of news is okay, this requires a bit of context again. So, as we all know, Spurs ended their trophy drought after winning their first trophy in 17 years, the Europa League, which got them Champions League football. Unfortunately, they lost 22 games in the league, and that warranted Ange being sacked by Daniel Levy. After Ange had come out very outspokenly and said that season 3 is going to be better than season 2, well, he wasn't aware that they kill off the main character as soon as you kind of make that statement. So now Spurs have approached Brentford for Thomas Frank, and Thomas Frank wants the job. He has opened negotiations, and now a fee between Tottenham and Brentford is being discussed. But as per the reports, I think Tottenham and Brentford have a very good working relationship. So they don't see an issue in terms of a fee being agreed. So it's not acrimonious. I think all the parties are on board. It's just the fee which needs to be agreed. So essentially, Spurs have been very Spursy, gotten rid of their manager, paid him, I think, 5 to 7 million compensation, getting in another manager for about 10, 12 million compensation. And then let's see how long Thomas Frank lasts now.
By the way, guys, the viewers, you guys heard it here first last weekend, last stream that Ant is going to be sacked.
Oh yes. This was this was even before the news had broken out by Romano.
Yes, even before the news broke out.
I think Varun is using his Arsenal connections to good use now. But what's your view? So
I
like
know how
I think
Spurs work.
because I think we are going to be on different sides of the argument. So I'll leave you guys to first discuss this. Like, what's your view? Should he have been sacked, and is Thomas Frank the right manager to take Spurs forward?
See, point
I
of
think
view
Thomas
number.
Frank deserves a job, like deserves a top job, and this one was available. And
But this is not a top job.
it is a top job, but and it would, I think, for Spurs it fits very well because Frank knows how to work within a budget, but he also needs a similar infrastructure around him, like the data analytics team that Brentford have, the kind of other support staff that Brentford have. He needs that kind of an environment to make it work on a budget. So let's see how much support in terms of having outside external support that Thomas Frank gets. But tactically, he's very shrewd, very good. He knows how to make a team tick on a budget. So I think what Daniel Levy wants from a manager, he finally has someone who can make it happen without complaining about it publicly. Like even Ange was complaining that okay, we don't have a squad and like we are not spending as much as I would want us to, and I'm not getting the players, etc. But I don't see Thomas Frank doing it. So from a Daniel Levy perspective and like from a management perspective, I think it's a good appointment for Spurs. And but I would not have sacked Ange also. So I mean that's another discussion altogether, independent.
Varun, what's your view? First, should
See, again,
Ange have
I
been
think there are two
sacked?
views, right? I kind of see point view number one is what Manan kind of said, what you kind of said that like probably you're winning a trophy and then you deserve to be given more chance to kind of work at the club, work with the players, etc. Point the view number two could be that you know just winning that one game in Europa final should not change your decision whether you want to keep a manager or not keep the manager. It should be based on how the team performed over the entire year in terms of just performance on the pitch, right? And from that perspective, given the number of games they lost, the way they played in the league, I think he didn't deserve to be here. um, Also, it's more like the same situation that United were with Ten Hag, right? Last year, he won the FA Cup. They kind of were on the fence whether they should give him, stick with him, they shouldn't stick with him. They ended up sticking with him. Of course, the next year the team is the same, nothing changed, right? The performance didn't improve in the league, and eventually they had to sack him mid-season, right? Which completely ruined their the season, complete season, right? So I think it's better than like if you are kind of in that place where you know that the team in general is not doing well under the manager. Okay, fine, you have won one trophy, which is Europa League. Um, okay, you have done well over there, but in general in the league, the team hasn't done well. I think it's okay if you want to move on as a if you kind of make that decision. I think it's fine. In fact, Thomas Frank comes in early in the window, gets a good look in. Now he can sign his players instead of coming middle of the season, stuck with the same thing team for the next 6, 7, 8 months or whatever. I mean, it's kind of yeah. So I think
So
see
my
it cuts both the ways. I feel like there's a pro attached to it in sacking Ange and signing a new manager right now.
so I was just going through the stats and the objectives. So Ange was appointed at the beginning of last season. Now I'm assuming he would have been given an objective: one, qualify for Champions League football, and two, win a trophy, because these were the two things which Spurs really, really wanted. Now, maybe for Daniel Levy, Champions League qualification trumped winning a trophy based on the finances and the way the club is run. Now, last season, Ange actually finished fifth in the league, higher than Chelsea, higher than United, higher than a lot of other clubs. And they narrowly missed out on Champions League football. A top five qualification this year would have earned you Champions League football. This year, admittedly, from Ange Postecoglou, from the very beginning, his main objective was winning a trophy. If you see his interviews at the beginning of the year as well, he had focused his team around winning one trophy or the other. And initially, he really tried for the Carling Cup, the Carabao Cup. But when they got knocked out in the semi final, if I'm not wrong, then he put all his eggs in the Europa League basket, which reflected in their league performances. Now, again, two sides of the equation. One, if he would have lost the final, and I agree, so one is to get to the final is also not crystal clear, right? Like even for United, they narrowly got past Lyon in the final stages of the game. So getting to a Europa League final also wasn't that easy, which people have been saying. But once you reach the final and once you're able to get through the final and you achieved your objectives because you have won a trophy and you have qualified for the Champions League. And the biggest part of the difference between I think an Ten Hag sacking and sacking is that the players, especially the bigger players, have come out backing Ange right, left, center. So if you see Son, if you see Vicario, if you see Madison, Romero, all of them have like publicly posted on their Insta handles. In fact, there is talk of Son leaving the club as well, uh, being disillusioned with the fact that they finally won a trophy and their manager is gone. So I think all said and done, maybe he deserved one more season to see how they progress under Ange. But given the context of Thomas Frank, I think what Manan said, you can't go wrong with it. Very Daniel Levy signing can work well in a structure. Paratici is back at Tottenham. He will be getting the players for Thomas Frank. And I think it can be a very solid signing. I don't know how far he can push the club.
UV, it's a win-win scenario for all of them, right? Like, and gets to leave at a at a high.
Yeah,
After winning a trophy, he can get a good job at some other club. You Spurs can start fresh again. Clearly, they didn't have faith. Like, what's next for Spurs? Like qualifying for the Champions League. We don't. Any of us don't see them contending for the Champions League any which way. So I think the motivation for the club this season is going to be to win a domestic trophy if possible, or qualify for a Champions League qualification. Most importantly, so I think in a league format, I think Thomas Frank is a better suited manager than Ange. And obviously, I was a big fan of Ange's attitude. His press conferences, he was straight to the point, very honest, and he respected the job that he had. So I think everyone has one. Like Thomas Frank will get you know a job at a bigger club, maybe better infrastructure, more money, and to be invested in the team. So that's there for him. Ange can go again, searching for a new job at a good club again. So
So,
I think
two
it's worked out
questions.
well for all of them.
Where do you think Ange will end up? And where do you think Spurs will end up under Thomas Frank next season?
and will end up at United.
Nice.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see this happening for sure. No, on a serious note, where do you think Ange can go from here? So Celtic would have been an option. Manan would have been happy, but I think Celtic already have Brendan Rodgers, so I don't see
Mhm.
that changing anytime soon.
Maybe some Bundesliga club, because I mean the football there is also like high paced, high line, like you know, heavy metal kind of football that will suit the type of football that Ange plays. I
Yeah, yeah.
think that would be a good stop for him.
And how about Thomas Frank and Spurs? Where do you think they'll finish next season now?
Difficult to comment before the transfer window closes. Yeah, like it's really difficult to comment right now.
I think
But
even
any,
after the transfer window, it's so
yeah,
difficult because this is the
Hmm.
first manager going out from Brentford, right? Like, so you don't know like how managers in from a very special setup at Brentford do outside. So it's really like there's no real data. But I mean, it seems like a sound choice on paper.
just one piece of info. So before going after Thomas Frank, Spurs made an approach to another manager. Except for Ishan, do you know who it was? He was a former Premier League manager, now plying his trade in Liga.
Roberto De Zerbi, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he
Oh.
flat out refused.
Yeah.
So
I
apparently
mean,
a Marseille position is much better
I
than a Spurs
don't,
position.
I don't. Do you guys actually think that Thomas Frank did a like it was a job that he should have actually taken?
See, you
I
can't go
don't
ahead
know,
at
man.
Brentford, right? See, Brentford pe you've reached the ceiling. You have gotten them from the Championship to the Premier League. He's got solid mid-table finishes. You can't go ahead like I think एक होता है ना कि यार मैं जितना भी पुश करके जा सकता हूँ
Hmm.
I don't think I'll go beyond
Ah,
8th in the Premier League with Brentford.
yeah. Ceiling
Yeah.
आ गई है.
I I really feel that something like a Newcastle or someone, right, would have been a much better fit with Thomas Frank than someone like Tottenham, who don't have actual any like Levy doesn't have that mentality of actually spending, building the team, and winning something, right? So as a manager, it's like, what's the why am I joining this club? Like that's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah, but
um,
you have to see what jobs are available also, right? Like Newcastle is not available. You don't foresee it being available for another season at least.
No,
So
I don't
like
know
this
how
can
long
be a
Eddie Howe is going
stopgap.
to last at Newcastle.
He's done a phenomenal job. Yeah, why will he not last?
I don't know. I think I also
Why
feel
do you have
that
doubts? Is what I'm asking, right? Like,
I feel that if Newcastle wants to now go from where they are currently, where they are doing like fifth, sixth, or whatever, fourth, and they want to move up and start being like second, third, or even like challenging or something like that, I don't think Eddie Howe is the manager that is kind of is going to take
yeah,
them
but
there.
what makes Newcastle think that Thomas Frank is that manager? Like, he doesn't have a track record of managing top teams or like playing in the Champions League or winning leagues and stuff, right? So even if they are changing from Eddie Howe, Thomas Frank is not going to be the
in
obvious choice or
consideration.
the obvious like first three choices. So like for like if he does well at Tottenham, then the Newcastle job becomes available for him.
So
Doing
you're saying
well at
that
Tottenham is a
Spurs is a
very
stepping stone.
difficult thing, man. It's a
Yeah, but
manager's
that's the
graveyard.
whole that's the whole challenge, right?
Varun, in the hindsight, in a funny way, you can think that he can earn more money by getting sacked, right?
Good
Like
point. Good point.
managers earn more money by getting sacked rather than just completing their
Hmm.
contracts.
Good point.
Unless you are Diego Simeone.
Yeah,
Yeah, like Mourinho
Fair
got
enough.
more money by getting sacked rather than finishing his contract, right?
For
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Okay, on to the next piece of news. This is affecting Manan closely. So Christian Eriksen, Johnny Evans, and Victor Lindelof leave Man United as free agents.
yeah. I think we already knew that since a while now, and they gave their thank you speeches expressing gratitude in the last home game. So I mean, Ericsson was good in the first season, has been passable in the next two, but needed to be moved on because he's become too slow for playing in a two-man midfield or in a two-man like number 10 kind of a role. And Johnny Evans has played like a lot more than what anyone thought he would when he came back to the club, and he did a very serviceable job, like better than a serviceable job considering his
Agreed.
attributes and his age. Lindelof, it's a shame that he survived so long at United because he was he was never really like top quality, but it is what it is. So yeah, I wish all of them the best for the next adventures that they go on.
Which manager signed Lindelof?
Mourinho.
Mourinho.
Mourinho. Okay.
Okay, the next piece of news, Manchester City schedule for Ryan Cherki to travel to England, have a medical, and then contract signing on Tuesday.
You look. How are they allowed to spend so much?
They actually would have a very good PSR net score because last 2, 3 seasons, they've actually sold a lot of players, including Alvarez and I think a few others. So net उनका बहुत अच्छा था. That's why Jan में they
Uh,
started the rebuilding process.
and they
No, but
also
they have
sell a
some
lot of the
restrictions,
academy
right?
players very well.
Yeah. Sorry?
They had some restriction on signings, right?
No,
No,
no, no,
no,
There's
not
some
yet,
case
no.
going
not yet.
on.
There's a case
There
going on,
are
but
there
signings
are
are not
there's a
yet.
very yeah there are very big
Yeah.
cases going on, but apparently those
Not
cases are
affecting the
yeah
operations so
not
much.
affecting the operations at all.
Not yet. Like there's a
Very good.
sword hanging over them, but it's not yet.
But
Like we
as
don't know
Manan
how it's going to
Bhai,
go.
mentioned, they sell a lot of academy talent, and
Yeah.
they sign a lot of academy talent too. Like there, you always see every month they have like couple of people joining their academy. So I think the churn rate in the academy is quite high. So that helps them in the PSR and the sustainability rules.
Yeah.
So Cole
Plus,
Palmer
they are
again.
also doing very well commercially. Like they
Yeah.
are one of the best clubs in terms of revenues overall. So
Yes.
that helps the PSR as well now.
even KDB's salary is free, right? Like that's a huge chunk of salary that is out right now.
Correct.
So
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 I mean, it's
one,
a phenomenal signing, like
yeah,
Ryan Cherky.
yeah,
Very, very, I mean, great price, very high ceiling, and
yeah.
somehow you always see City like signing such players who have like very high ceiling and come at a very decent price.
Mm.
it's amazing. I
Yeah,
agree because
like
it's like
how they
almost
find them in
impossible to
transfer.
imagine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, and I'm very surprised because I felt this would be a Liverpool signing, whereas the Words would be a City signing because it's exactly the opposite what is going on right now.
Hmm.
Ryan Cherky could be the ideal, he's a left footer who has a great dribbling ability. He can create magic from outside the box. And for 29 million, I think they've got a great buyer, like crazy.
True.
But only thing is, I don't know how Guardiola will,
Fit in
be
all.
with Cherki. Yeah, no, because if you see, Guardiola doesn't really allow players to have full freedom. And a Ryan Cherky is someone who requires that, free hand, right? Of, okay, you go ahead, you don't have to really step back or contribute defensively, and you just make the game happen. So I think that's the only danger with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I think there are two ways he goes. Either he goes the Bernardo Silva way or he goes the Jack Grealish way, right? Like it can go either way for him under
But he
Guardiola.
doesn't defend. Like even he doesn't have any good record defending. So anyways, like even Grealish, right? Like Grealish, KDB, how much they are going to save if they are able to let go of Grealish? There's a lot of salary being free now. Even Reinders, for that matter, Reinders is a very very shrewd and a good signing. I saw him in Euros playing for Netherlands, and he's too good. Like even for AC Milan, he scored so many goals, and he was an integral part of that midfield for them. So even Reinders is a very shrewd and a very good signing according to me. But then what happens to likes of Kovacic or say a Savinho for a Chucky or a Doku? Like there are so many players that they will be able to sell now, but I don't know what happens to Foden also. Like where do they fit all these players? They signed Nico Gonzalez for 60 million in the winter transfer window. What happens to him now? Like where does he play? Rodri will be coming back. Reinders will be there. There will be an attacking midfielder occupying the third midfield position. There was Oscar Bob, who was again a generational talent coming from City Academy. Where do these players fit in, and how does Pep Guardiola keep all of them happy? Like that's going to be the biggest challenge.
And he's threatened the club that I want a small squad, otherwise I'm going to
Yeah,
quit.
yeah.
Like, imagine.
But it's very illogical, honestly, Manan, because if you see City are playing the Club World Cup,
Yeah.
then they have a full year with Champions League. And
Hmm.
then as soon as the league gets over, players have to go for the actual World Cup, the FIFA World Cup. And in this year, if they have a squad of 20 people, like what Guardiola has suggested, there can be two or three people with very, very serious burnout, right?
But
No,
you
I
look at
agree. But
Nico really, whatever Nico Riley, he had such a nice breakthrough season in the latter part of the season. They didn't need Eight Nori to come in, right? Like Guardiola was partially playing the left back position. The Nico Riley played so well. There's Rico Lewis who is versatile as a player. Rather, they should have signed a right back.
I'm
Rather,
just hopeful if because of Nouri coming in and because Guardiola is already there, maybe
yeah,
Chelsea can
Nico Riley.
reinitiate the O'Reilly
Yeah, that
discussion.
would be great. I would love. Actually, Nico really is a defensive midfielder. He was playing
Correct.
as a left back,
Left back.
but where does where do these players go? Vitor Reis again, the centre back Kusanov, Akanji, John Stones. You can name so many players, so many centre backs they have. Guardiola will be a centre back now. Ruben Diaz is already there. I don't see him going anywhere.
so
I
we'll
don't know.
discuss these players individually when we do a keep sell for them for Manchester City.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe we can go to the next like key
Yes.
transfer rumors if we have any left.
So, one second. Oh, this is an interesting one. Joe Bellingham set for medical tests and he will sign a 5-year contract as new Borussia Dortmund player. Another Bellingham at Dortmund.
I think
Yeah,
they
we
have
have to
got
see.
the path to success clearly mapped
Well
out
chalked out.
and
Yeah.
well thought. Yeah, tried and
It
tested.
would be amazing if he too transfers to Real Madrid after a few seasons.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's a record
Just
transfer
imagine.
for Sunderland, by the way. They have
Yeah.
chalked out a very good deal. Initial proposal for Joe Bellingham, as per Romano, was 20 million euros. They eventually got 35 million euros plus a 15% sell-on
Sell-on
clause.
clause.
That shows that the ceiling for Joe Bellingham is very high as per Dortmund, because they don't usually spend. It's, I think, the second highest purchase of their history, in Dortmund's history. 35 million euros is like, so they must be having high conviction on him and are ready to spend so much on a single player.
Clearly,
No, he's
the
he's
Bellingham family enjoyed
yeah, yeah.
their working with Dortmund. Like, so,
No, and
yeah.
it's very rare that you have two brothers in two different age groups who are so good, right? Like
Yeah.
even if you see Joe Bellingham's career path, even he started at 16, 17, and he went through the entire championship, and now he's coming to Dortmund, and yeah, like you guys said, I think if he also becomes that big a star and transfers to Madrid, it'll be crazy. But imagine the situation
Yeah.
if he goes to a different club in Spain, maybe an Atletico or a Barca.
Imagine if he goes to, but that won't happen, yeah.
That won't happen.
That won't happen.
Yeah, I don't think either of those two clubs can afford Job Bellingham if he succeeds at Dortmund because they're paying
Fair
him
enough.
35 million. Like they're paying 35 million for him plus the sell-on clause, and they'll want to extract a fat fee, right? So neither Barca or Atletico can afford him.
You never know. Barca, two seasons down the line, you never know what situation they would be at.
They are in a $1 billion debt. Yeah, it's very very difficult.
Okay,
Whatever.
okay.
Okay, one very interesting development. Franco Mastantuono to Real Madrid. Argentinian top talent will join Madrid on a 6-year deal, 45 million euros to be paid in installments. Now, this is absolutely crazy, right? Because I don't know if I'm pretty sure you guys would have seen the free kick he scored in the Super Clasico in Argentina. And like at 19, having that kind of talent and skill as well as composure. I think it's brilliant. And the only question is where will he fit in at Madrid? Like it's the other way of the same thing as City, right? Like I think we should do a keep sell loan in Madrid as well now. What's your view, Manan? You're on mute, buddy.
But this is Madrid's transfer strategy since like half a decade now, or probably a bit more, where they just stockpile on the best South American talent out there. When you see something similar happened with Arda Güler, that I mean, he is also phenomenally talented, great composure, and sort of a similar player profile also in terms of the style of play. And there's no space for him even. So where do you fit this guy in? Um, so I don't know. Like I see at least maybe Rodrigo leaving the club this season in the this post season, and then maybe one or two of these guys going on loan because there's no other way around it.
And the
But you
last
need a
couple of
deep squad, yeah. You need a deep squad these days. So many games happening. It's, yeah.
there's a
But
very good
like you,
probability of them getting to Arsenal itself. There's a
Sorry?
clear path. There's a good possibility of them coming to Arsenal as well to get some game time. Rodrigo का बहुत
hmm.
like links are very very advanced apparently.
Yeah, with Arsenal, it's not done unless it's done. So I'm not.
Yeah, Zubimendi, like imagine.
I
Yeah,
know
that's what we
Zuba Mendy
discussed
now
last
suddenly
time.
he's like interested in Madrid.
I told you, right? Alonso, Real Sociedad,
Yeah.
the connection is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are not willing to pay him all the fees, right? That is
Real.
required
Yeah,
to
but
actually pay
with
him.
when Real comes in, all these things go out of the window.
Yeah, yeah. The
That's
pull
true as well.
power is too
Uh,
good.
like Real and Barca, they have a pull power in general for
Especially with
every
Spanish
player.
players, no, Manan bhai.
No,
Spanish
in
players.
general, even like Latin players or even now British players, the pull that these two clubs have is like much higher than every other club. And like
But
for
don't.
example, Bayern for German players, right? Like
Yes.
that pull is, I mean, when Bayern comes in, everything else is out of the window. That kind of thing normally works.
But
Not
don't
in
you
the
think
case
for
of Wolves,
players
but
like Arda Güler or Mastuntoanu or Endrick or all these young players, game time is the most essential thing for their
Yeah,
development
yeah,
right
it
now.
is. I think.
I don't know why people want to. It's a status symbol to represent Real Madrid or what. It's obviously we can't be commenting on that because it's very aspirational. But for their development, it might not be the best club to go at right now. Like
maybe
they would.
now with Alonso, we don't know, right? Like, so maybe that's what is a pull because Alonso has apparently spoken to the player over the phone in person, like made all the effort. So that has maybe been the pull because he had many other options.
PSG was the option he had. I think PSG were quite close, but I don't know where do they play, how many minutes they get during the season, and at their age they should be playing as much as possible. So I get Joe Bellingham's transfer to Dortmund in a much better way than Mastantuano. He should have gone to a mid-level club before But we are proven wrong by Vinicius Junior and Rodrigo signings, so can't complain there. But I don't know. Like let's see.
One very, let's say, unlikely to happen, but this conjecture of events would definitely please Haru. So, like Manan said, right, that Bayern are the de facto club for German footballers. With Thomas Muller retiring, there's a space opened up which Kai Havertz can fill. And with Arsenal
Hmm.
wanting a really good left winger, a Musiala can fit in and a swap deal can happen. This, I think, could be the craziest move ever in the
Never,
history of
No
never,
football.
chance
never,
of that happening.
never,
Just
never. There's a
This
higher
is
chance
तुम्हें
of
false hope
Tottenham
दे रहा है
winning
यहाँ
the
पे.
Champions League than this.
Musiala to Arsenal is like I can't fathom that.
I think
I would
irrespective
be
of
really happy
Musiala
if only
coming
the
or
one
no,
part of that
yeah.
deal happens. भाई तू हावर्स ले लो नहीं चाहिए अब मुसियाला नहीं दोगे तो चलेगा तू हावर्स
हाँ
ले
वो
लो.
हो सकता है हावर्ट्स जा सकता है बायर्न बट ये स्वैप डील तो नहीं हो सकती.
Yeah.
Okay, so another piece of news which is here is that Victor Osimhen has rejected Al Hilal's proposal, despite the agreement between Napoli and Al Hilal on a 75 million euro fee. And apparently, Al Hilal offered 45 million a year to Osimhen, but he has refused, saying that he wanted to stay in Europe. And his preference at this moment in time is to go to Galatasaray because Galatasaray was really, really, the fans really took a shining to him last year. And I think
I
that
doubt
was a
he
very
would
good
want to
reason.
stay at Galatasaray. Like he would want to be at a top club playing in the. I don't think so. He's going to stay at.
I mean, at Galatasaray he's going to play the Champions League anyway, right? So uh,
But
playing the Champions League is not the issue, and you really the kind of love and adoration you get in Turkey is also another level. Uh, but but yeah, he's not going to be competing for top honors anymore if he does this.
in fact, United should sign him if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for him to be at
Yeah.
United, but I don't think he's the one that we are looking at right now in terms of salary expectations and the transfer fee also.
Mhm.
I mean, who would have imagined, like, if you told me before the window began or before the summer began that United would have signed Cunha, be very strongly and closely linked to Mbumo and like in with a chance of Gyökeres also, without having to sell any player yet. That would have been crazy. Like I would not imagine it. I still think Cunha is expensive at that
Yeah,
price.
he is. He
I
is.
like Mbumo. I think from last week to this week, I've read a lot about how Amorim's
Mbumo deal is
structure
not
was.
happening.
Why?
No, it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah. I mean, there's
So
still
Ah,
I
like
think
the Tottenham rumor
Tottenham.
is
No,
there.
no. So basically, the structure of the deal is that Mbuemo demanded 250K, which no club was willing to meet. United offered 150K plus add-ons of 50K. Spurs came in with 130K, all inclusive. So
yeah,
I don't see Spurs changing Mbuemo's
Yeah.
mind, right, irrespective of Thomas
but
Frank.
his fellow national mate is also there, no? So that's going to
Onana.
help. Yeah,
So
but
yeah. I mean, so last
तो उनाना
podcast I
रहेगा
had
क्या
said
वहाँ
that
पे?
he is a right winger who is going to play the inside 10. But that's actually what Amorim had for a long time at Sporting also. He had this player called Trincao, ex-Wolves,
yes, yes,
ex-Barcelona, I think, if I'm not
yes,
mistaken.
yes, yes.
So
Francisco
he's
Trincao.
also a right winger who would play as an inside right 10, but would stretch the defense. And then the right wing back would be an attacking left-footed winger who's playing as a wing back, but is coming inside and like using that space.
He was
So
Kenda, I
then,
think.
yeah, they had Kenda in Sporting. So
Yes.
then Mbumo makes sense because that's what his profile is, right? Like, so like, and then Gyökeres. I mean, I am just stunned that all of this is happening when we are having layoffs everywhere to save money. And then recently, David Ornstein or someone in the Athletic came up with the PSR figures, and apparently United are like 140 odd million pounds
Yes,
in
yes,
profit
yes,
or something like that. Like,
yes.
I mean, it is totally against what everything that's been reported for the past 8 to 9 months. And
Why have you guys been penny pinching on like staff meals and
maybe that is the reason we have so much money. Like, we don't know.
140 million worth of staff meals?
I mean, that's just one of those things. We cancelled Sir Alex's directorship. I think that saves a lot of money also.
You cancel like donations to like
The
those
community.
ex old
Yes, yes.
United
Yeah, yeah.
Community.
players.
Legends, yeah.
Legacy footballers, yeah.
Legacy.
Yeah, staff,
But
Yeah.
and then
Acuna,
you
Gyökeres, and
guys refuse to
Mbuemo is
take the
a
staff to
Europa League.
the
Yeah,
Europa
yeah.
Cup final.
No, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I myself am shocked about this, right? Like how it doesn't add up. Like, but
It seems like one of those Hindi film ka plots, right?
But
at that
like
Cunha,
ऐसा लेकिन
Gyökeres
ऐसा
है
तो
ना.
हो कि प्लेयर्स ज्यादा वो क्लब ज्यादा पैसा नहीं मांगे हमसे.
no, but I mean, having that
नहीं तो कुन्या के
monthly
लिए they would have to pay 80 million.
release clause था 62.5, so 80 million का कोई question ही नहीं.
80 million भाई, अगर रूल्स ने कर लिया होता तो भाई.
But yeah, again, I still think Cunha is a bit overpriced. Like 40,
Yes.
45, maximum 50 was something that would be okay for him. Mbumo is maybe par in the current market at 60. That also feels a bit overpriced to me still. And Gyökeres at 60, if we get him, would be a steal. So in the
But it's a
present
good
striker
upgrade
market.
to the existing top three.
Yeah,
right.
100%,
The big
100%,
upgrade.
100%.
Plus,
But
you're
the
going to
bigger
get
fish to
almost
fry
an
is
equivalent money as well, right? You're going to get 40 to 60 for Anthony. You're going to get 40 to 60 for Garnacho.
No.
It's
40
practically
maximum
no
for
40
Anthony.
तो आएगा ही नहीं, Anthony आएगा ही
40 maximum for Anthony, Garnacho 60, Rashford 40,
नहीं. Garnacho 60 कौन देगा
Sancho
भाई?
25.
सऊदी देगा
क्यों?
क्या? सिर्फ सऊदी दे सकता है.
सब देंगे फिर 60 तो Garnacho के लिए आराम
There
से
is
मिलेगा.
talks of Sancho going to Al
60
Hilal,
dude,
so
60
you
no
can
way.
get
हाँ
super
60
lucky
मिलेगा
there.
आराम से. क्या बोल
60
रहे हो?
अगर विंटर में रहता तो दे देते थे तभी. अभी नहीं दे रहा कोई 60.
क्यों नहीं देगा?
We'll
अभी
He
see.
had a
unlikely है
second,
मना.
good second half of the
All
season.
the clubs should be like buy कहना ही नहीं है इन लोगों को.
हाँ.
वो अलग बात
Like
है.
I was
वो अलग
messaging
बात
you the other day. 5 million दे दो और सैंचो को घर
हाँ.
भेजो वापस. Like we don't want him. You keep
वो
him.
अलग
नहीं,
बात है.
but by the way, ये United have got super lucky because Al Hilal are now targeting Sancho, and if Al Hilal come in, they may actually get
Yeah.
45 to 60 million for him.
And Al Nassr is targeting Garnacho.
Yeah.
But these
That-
players should also agree to go there, no? These
UV,
Yeah,
there's a World Cup coming
Garnacho
up
will
next
agree to
year.
go and play with
Sancho तो नहीं
Ronaldo.
जाएगा वर्ल्ड कप में, वो
There's
तो
a
श्योर
World
है.
Cup coming
हाँ.
next year. So why
हाँ.
not? Why not? Sancho won't give up on that. Why not?
नहीं, but उसको और कहीं खेलने भी तो मिलना चाहिए ना. He should get another opportunity other than this Al Hilal.
The only
And
place
yeah,
where
you
he'll
go
get
to
to
Al
play is
Hilal, your
Dortmund.
career is gone.
Haan,
You don't go to Al Hilal when you are in your early 20s, mid 20s. Yeah, you go there when you are in your late 20s or early 30s. Yeah.
even Garnacho is not going there. I'm pretty sure he won't go. But
Garnacho, I think, can go to Atletico with their manager and the connection, right? I think that could be a good move for everyone involved.
He's an ex-Atletico player anyway. We got him from
Yeah.
Atletico's academy.
But I think this season only the ones, I think that not many quality players would want to go to Saudi considering there's World Cup next year. So
Yeah. Osimhen being an example.
I don't think Osimhen has a lot of challenges being from Nigeria to to be in contention. But for players from England, Argentina, Spanish players, all these players would not want to move to Saudi too soon. Like it's too soon for them. But Garnacho 60 million, I honestly have my doubts. Nobody's paying that.
I think he's not going to go for less than 60 million. For
You
sure.
are having doubts for Garnacho 60 million. I have doubts for Rashford 40 million. Who's going to pay 40 million for Rashford?
Nobody is going to pay that. Nobody.
Apparently, Barca are in it.
Barca will take
इसलिए
him on a
तो-
loan. No chance. वो लोन में देंगे, आधा सैलरी यूनाइटेड देगा, आधा सैलरी बारसा देगा. That's going to happen. Like
Yeah, with Barca the pull is there, यार. वो बोलेगा कि यार 250 का क्या कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है. If you want to come to Barca,
सैंचो
you
का
get only
10
100K.
मिलियन भी मिल गया ना, 10 मिलियन भी सैंचो का मिल गया तो मतलब हैंड डिलीवर करना चाहिए उन लोगों को. He's at मतलब लास्ट ईयर ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है उसका, इतना हाई वेज है, उसको क्यों कोई लेगा?
हाँ, मेरे को लगी Sancho 20-25 million भी जाएगा. I don't think he's going to be more than
10 मिलियन भी आया बर्बाद भाई तो आप मतलब
एक रियलिस्टिक फिगर की बात कर रहे हैं. ऐसे कुछ भी रैंडम तो कुछ भी बोल सकते हैं. रियलिस्टिक
10
फिगर तो
million,
20-25 million है. It's a realistic
Saudi
figure. He had a
में हो
decent
सकता
season
है.
at Chelsea.
we'll see.
Yeah. Cool. So, any other talking points in the week? Else we can wrap up.
No, I think we've covered pretty much all the major transfer stories of the week. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool,
Kepa to
guys.
Arsenal was
Varun?
one, which was a little.
Oh.
But
actually, that's a great move, huh? Because 5 million मेरे को मिल रहा है.
I don't know his wage demand कितना रहेगा उसका, but
With Chelsea, he was earning 170K.
that's a lot, yeah. That's a lot.
For a
No,
backup
so I'm
keeper, that's a
assuming.
lot. Yeah.
No, I'm assuming he would have reduced his wage demands. I don't see Arsenal paying that much for a backup keeper.
Anything
Depends
more
on the
than
length
if
of the contract also.
if we pay anything more than 75,000 for him,
No, not happening below that.
so it's a bad deal. See, I'm telling you, like it's the wage thing. 5 million is not an issue. 5 million is a good price, and as a backup, Kepa is a decent keeper. But the mistake that we made with Havertz was like you're paying him 300 whatever, and you're paying 16 million to buy him. If you pay the same person like 30 million and you pay him like 120 and use him as a technically as a backup that he should be, then it's a decent signing. But you pay him so high and you buy him for such a high fees and you are then under pressure to play him as a starter, then of course
Yeah,
Kepa is not going to be under that kind of obligation. But I think
No.
then it takes away from other this thing, right?
Other
But-
opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 million and I think around 75,000-80,000 a week. It's a decent deal. It's yeah.
I
But
think
Kepa
ऐसा
isn't
होना
so
नहीं
good
चाहिए.
with his feet, no? Like Arsenal requires a keeper who's good with his feet, right?
No, Kepa is actually not bad. The problem is his height. So he's not able to save a lot of like properly placed precision shots. That's been his biggest problem when he was at Chelsea the first time.
Yeah,
And
he's
So
not
but
the
he's a
best.
backup keeper. No, it's fine.
Backup के लिए
keeper
ठीक है.
it's fine. Yeah.
again, Bournemouth के लिए he performed well last season. Even honestly, before he left for Madrid, he was Chelsea's first choice under Poch as well. And
Yes.
suddenly Madrid came in for him and then he left. So I think he's not been a good player for Chelsea for sure. I think better for Arsenal possibly under
I
Arteta.
think I think 5 million is a decent price. I feel if you can sign him as a wage, cut his wage by more than half or something, and then tie him down for a 2 3 year contract or something for 3 years. If he stays as a backup keeper and stays in his, like doesn't do Kida in the backroom thing, then it's fine. Like it's yeah, like come with that mindset that you are a backup keeper. Like be make that clear with him. Ki, ha, you are a backup keeper. Probably you will play Carling Cup, Max FA Cup, but you're not going to get League and Champions League for sure. So yeah, then I think it's a fine. Like it's just we needed a backup keeper, so it's a you're plugging a spot.
Fine, guys.
And
Cool.
one more story that came out was Gabby Vega. He
Hmm.
was the first young player, like young upcoming potential star, to transfer to Saudi in the first wave of Saudi transfers, and had a lot of criticism then. But he's performed well, and now he's come back to Porto. Um, and Saudi has actually the whichever Saudi club it was, I think it was Al Ahly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
That club has actually turned a profit on Gabby Vega in terms of just the transfer fee. Like
No,
they
no, can't
bought him
be.
for 12 million and they sold him for 15
No, no,
million.
they bought him for 40 million.
No, yeah.
Can't be. I remember because Chelsea was linked to him.
See, it will be
31,
very
40
difficult
million they
for
signed him.
Saudi. It will be very difficult for Saudi to
Yeah,
keep the
yeah.
hype
So
and to
40
attract the
million May
players.
Al
Yeah,
Ahly
yeah.
had signed him and he's gone to Porto for 15 million.
15
Uh,
million.
Hmm.
Anyways, my point is like it will be very difficult for Saudi to keep attracting players and keep that hype up once Ronaldo leaves. Correct. So I don't know how this whole thing is going to pan out in like say a year, 2 years. They have the money, but a lot of players have
so it's
actually
good
looked at
for Varun
Ronaldo
bhai.
and then followed him over there
It's
after the
good for
money.
clubs like us, like who want to send the players there, like who want to get the players off the books. Like it's a good outlet for big clubs. Like for example, Gabriel Jesus. He's on a high wage now. Who's going to buy him? Like many of the Chelsea players left like that only, like Koulibaly, Mendy. It's a good outlet for players to earn good money there, and clubs get
No,
money
no,
for that.
I agree, but I'm just thinking I don't know how long will it last. So for if you see in the middle, China was also like a similar thing, where for 3 4 years it worked out quite well. Correct. So now when Ronaldo leaves, that whole aura of the Saudi league is not going to be there. Correct. That whole wave of things start happening once Ronaldo signed for them. Right. So once he leaves and then all that star traction of that league kind of diminishes, then it will be interesting to see like what the transitions happen from Europe to Saudi like after that.
Another one last info. So Sadio Mane is actually available now from Al Nassr. So that can be a good opportunity for Premier League clubs.
Shit.
I don't think any top club is going to buy him.
Yeah.
Like कोई भी नहीं लेगा
But
उसको.
not necessarily a top club, yeah. But even like say a Brighton or someone who not Brighton. Brighton has Mitoma, but many mid-table clubs के लिए बहुत अच्छा signing हो सकता है.
उसका वेज डिमांड बहुत हाई रहेगा.
यार he
His
couldn't
price might
succeed at
not.
Al Nassr. वो कहाँ प्रीमियर लीग में आके क्या उखाड़ पाएगा, मतलब वो Al Nassr में ही succeed नहीं हो पाया.
Once you go to Saudi, coming expecting and coming back and playing top level at Europe is very difficult. So,
Cool. Shall we
anyways,
wrap up? Yes.
okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you liked it. Hit the share button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye guys.
Bye.